we'll be hosting a huge real estate investor meetup at the location we've been doing that in downtown LA. So make sure you guys attend if you're in Los Angeles during those dates.
What's up, everyone? We just finished Ask Alex. This was our 83rd week, and we had a virtual open house. Always one of my favorites because we just get to connect with other deal makers like you. What were the biggest takeaways from you, Mr. Camacho?
Great open house. I love it. So big takeaways were, number one, update on the market and how it's shifting. Number two is we covered what we learned at the mastermind in Vegas. And number three, we learned what people are doing to make adjustments so they can survive and thrive in this recession. Let's go. Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? Aloha. How's everybody doing? I am in Monterrey, Mexico. Let me just promote him to panelists. How's everybody doing on this beautiful Wednesday? I'm not sure where you guys are all at, so make sure you use the chat feature. I know there's people that come back every week, but we also might have some new people. Oh, we have some special guests here. Oh, look, there's Kinsey. What's up, girl? How are you? We've got some of our team members. Let's see, we'll get my man, Will.
What's up? What's up, sir? How are we doing today?
Good, good. Aloha. How are you, bud?
Doing well. It's actually hola, ¿cómo estás? Right? Aren't you down in Mexico, sir?
Yes. Hola, ¿cómo estás, amigo?
Yeah, I think the aloha would be more for when you're over in the islands. But cool, man. I know this is a fun week for us, right? This is actually one of my favorite weeks because it's not about us, right? We're not going to be going over, projects like we did last week. We dove into deep dives on a deal. It's not going to be a special guest like we did the week before. We'll probably have another one coming up here soon. But what this is fun is we're actually going to be, opening up the room to everybody. It's like a virtual open house. Think of our networking events that we throw here in Los Angeles, just a virtual version of that, where you might get to meet somebody that's doing a project abroad that is having a problem that you can help out with, an out-of-state investor. You might find a short-term rental investor, cool chance to find people in the room that you might not find normally. So that'll be cool. But before we dive into that, Alex, I know we always like to kind of hear, what's going on in your life, man. Where are you at? Where are you traveling to? And, what do you have kind of coming up this week?
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, this is just an open house. We're going to be talking to everybody, whoever wants to participate, see what they're up to. If you have questions, definitely use the chat feature. But as far as me, man, I'm here in Monterrey, Mexico. I'm going to stop by here after the mastermind. Been spending some time in doing some hiking. It's a city that I recently came aware of, and through multiple people telling me about it. And I spent some time here in January. I really loved it. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away from my place over in Guadalajara. So spend some more time here, but I'll be heading back tomorrow to Guadalajara. I guess the big update here is we've now listed one of our Hawaii properties. We kind of went back and forth for some time. We got to use the property, but ultimately with not being able to kind of cash flow on that property, having a lot of equity in there, it didn't really make sense for us to have a property that wasn't cash flowing, that we had a lot of equity, and we couldn't refinance and get terms that were favorable. So we listed that. We got a lot of interest. We're expecting some offers. That one could be a very, very big payday. Looks like it will be, but it was a tough one to decide to sell. I know you're going to be spending some time there next month, so I'm excited to still, be able to hang out with you at the property. I know you're like one of the only team members that haven't seen it in person, so that'll be cool. We also just went to the mastermind for Ryan Pineda last week. As some of you know, we go every quarter. I don't love Vegas, but I go there to learn, to connect with people, learn from some people that are doing way bigger things than we are, and just be connected. Especially right now with things shifting, we got to be around people that are doing things and have some insights and see what's working for them. So that was cool. We learned a lot more about culture. We learned a lot about certain systems that people are running. We also learned kind of some market updates from other people in other markets. And as always, we all kind of as a team worked and networked. So that was cool.
We call those like data points, right, Alex? We want to connect with these other high level investors and figure out, okay, you guys are seeing a market shift like this in your area. You guys are seeing a little bit like that in your area. That's one of the advantages of going to a networking event or a big, mastermind event like that, is you get to connect with people from other markets that might still be seeing success right now, or might be seeing, less success that we are. So it's a good way to kind of connect with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny, every time we go every quarter, but seems like what we take away from it and what the learning lessons and all that, always different. It's not like, okay, we learned this thing. It's constantly moving. That's really why we go, to be around people that are kind of at the, the forefront of what's changing. We definitely feel like Ryan's one of those people. And then also not only that, but the people he brings together. We've done deals with people in that room. We've seen other people kind of quit their full-time jobs and eventually go. So I always love to catch up with, because a lot of it we're catching up with people we know, and the other part of it is we're meeting people we don't know. So that was cool. I manage, I don't know about you, but I managed to still have a pretty good workout routine this last week or so. So I'm proud about that. We definitely, part of that has been that I'm here in Monterrey, and I've been hiking every day. Some pretty epic but difficult hikes. That's kind of one of my passions. So that's cool.
And how close are the mountains to where you are right now, man? Like 20, 30 minutes away, right? You can get to some nice trails from your house.
Well, like 15 minutes away. It's really surrounded all by these different beautiful mountains. So there's trails literally 10, 15 minutes away. You're up in some beautiful mountains with some incredible views. And also, just like I said, the workout, just being in a different place. So, I enjoy it. So doing a lot of that. Also, I think the last thing, the big update is that we'll be hosting a huge real estate investor meetup at the location we've been doing that in downtown LA. So make sure you guys attend if you're in Los Angeles during those dates. It's a Thursday. We listen to your feedback. We did on a Friday. Traffic on Fridays is horrible near downtown LA. We also we want to do it at a time where people can get off work. A lot of people that follow us tend to be people that are still working a 9 to 5 that want to escape from that. So we're going to be doing that in the evening time. I think it's 5:30 to 8:30 on Thursday, July the 28th. So mark your calendars, and we'll see you all there. I know there's going to be
a fun one, right?
People. Yeah, it'll be a couple hundred people. It's going to be crazy. So let's talk to the crew. Let's talk to attendees, our fellow deal makers. See what people are up to, what questions people have, and
let's go ahead and we'll get some people in here. Alex, you're going to go and make me the host real quick, and then our co-host, and I'll get some people in here. In the meantime, guys, I see some people chatting in down there in the chat. Go ahead and let us know again, like where it is that you guys are kind of tuning in from. And like Alex said, we went out to this mastermind. We're out in Vegas. We're out there connecting with people in different markets. So like, John, I can't wait to kind of hear from you and get some feedback. What's kind of going on with the market out there for you in Texas. Would love to hear from you as well, Brad. Get an idea of what's kind of going on the islands, right? What's the market looking like out in Oahu, right? I see some familiar faces. I see Ali in here. I see Antonio and Dom and Andy, and we'll get the rest of you guys in here. But again, like that would probably be my question that I would love to just start with people is like, where do you guys, what are you guys hearing the market's doing? What are you guys doing? Where are you guys at currently with the market, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's also my question. So whoever's active, if you're active and you're in the group and you want to see what you want to share what you're seeing, this would be the time. Like let's collaborate. Otherwise, we could also jump into some of the offer activity and then some of the ways we're modifying the offers that we're making for still purchasing, but at a different pricing, I guess we'll say.
Yep. And I think pricing is probably the biggest thing that you see shift right now, right, Alex, is price shift. Who here has seen prices shift in their market? Edward, what are you kind of seeing? I know you're on both the investment side and on the realtor side. So what are you kind of seeing, and what are you seeing out there at the market? You guys there? Rick, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What market are you guys in?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, and what's your kind of feedback right now in the market out here?
So Ventura County is still pretty hot. The name of the game has always been affordability. So because LA has such diverse neighborhoods, as people get priced out of one neighborhood, they can always go to another one. So I'm not necessarily seeing major price reductions. The luxury market actually is still kind of busy. I hosted on the development side of the company I work with, I hosted a house in Beverly Hills, brand new construction. I still had serious buyers coming through and they were still looking to buy.
Now, remind me, what's lower price points for you guys? Because I feel like up in Ventura, it's like a little bit more like 300, 400, 5.
Got it. Yeah. So basically anything under $1 million in LA is considered to be affordable.
Yeah.
Well, especially because the loan limits have gone up. So you can buy FHA, you can buy $1 million home. So, so yeah, that in that respect, the one I hosted in Beverly Hills, we're listing that for 15 million.
What about like the median price down in Ventura County though?
Ventura County, the median price keeps going up. I'd have to take a look. It's probably in the 7 or 8s. It's probably
7 or 8s now. Yeah, wow.
probably. I mean, I sold a house in Simi, needed some work, but I still sold it for 980,000. Which, for those that are familiar with Simi Valley, like a couple years ago, that would have blown your mind at that price. And there were actually homes that sold for more on that street.
Yeah. Well, I think you still have to pay attention per pocket, right? Every pocket's different. There's so many different neighborhoods in Southern California, or I mean, frankly, whatever market you're in. We're also seeing in our kind of more desert properties, the ones that are just lower price points, super affordable, house remodeled. It's gonna be 250 to 350 in the kind of Antelope Valley area that we invest a lot in. And those are still selling very quickly. We had a property in South LA that I would say we didn't quite finish exactly how we normally would. But because the market being still kind of where it's at, we got our price, but not like where we kind of wanted to be a little bit over asking on it. But also it just it's kind of on that cusp of almost not being affordable, because I mean 700,000 in South LA is, I mean, kind of where things are at now, right? It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they used to be 400, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, look, I paid 520 for my house. I'm in the Valley. I bought it was a major fixer, but we did an addition, did the ADU, remodeled the house, and I just got an appraisal back at 955.
Yeah, that's awesome for you. Good.
Did line of credit. I'm looking to buy again.
Yeah. I know Edward has been kind of pretty busy on the agent space, but he's also working on stuff multifamily related. Anything you want to share, Edward? And you usually vocal here.
Yeah, what's up, guys? How's everyone? Nice to meet anyone who I'm not familiar with. I think I agree a lot with what Rick said, and I think another point on top of that, it's like, how are agents adjusting to this? Because like, if an agent prices it thinking what it would have sold for a month or two ago, you're gonna be disappointed. And I think and you guys know from flipping, especially, it's like the most painful thing or the biggest thing that can hurt a house sale value is days on market. Especially if you see long days on market, big price reductions. Once everyone's already seen it, they're kind of turned off. Like, what? Oh, I can have one opinion on it, but if 20 other people agree with me and it's been on the market for 2-3 weeks, now people are like, do I really want to, like, you get turned off by it, As nice as it may be, you kind of get turned off. You're hesitant. So I think that's another big thing that, let's be honest, most agents today weren't around for the 08 crash. The ones getting the listings, the ones being active and involved, like you're not gonna see. In 08, I was 15. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't around. Like, I wasn't an agent in 08 crash. So it's like, for me and like a lot of agents, it's gonna be like, okay, we don't know how to adjust. And I'm not saying this is the same as 08, but people haven't seen this chaos. And right now, there's a little bit of that uncertainty, chaos. So it's interesting, like what I tell a buyer is buy the house you fall in love with, not the one that you're just buying because you like. So if you're doing a flip, it's like, you have to be able to picture yourself in the home. And I think that's something that it's very easy to shy away from sometimes if you're focused on numbers too much.
Yeah. And I think another thing I want to add to what you're saying too, is Will and I have been talking a lot more about some of the other properties that are now kind of boomeranging, right? That we made offers on a month ago, 2 months ago. And now these people are coming back. Oh yeah, hey, is your offer so good? And we're like, I'm sorry, like our offer doesn't stand, but maybe we can get creative. We can still give you the same price if you can finance a deal or do a subject to deal. So I think just having those additional tools in your investor tool belt is important right now, because people are still going to want their prices. Well, hey, maybe I can't buy it hard money, but if you work with me on this thing, maybe we can make the deal work, because we're seeing a lot of that. People are just kind of coming back and around. We make a lot of offers, but hey, those offers expire, right? They change based off of new data. And I was just talking to an investor earlier today that was doing a new development. And he said a year ago, it would have been no problem for him to get the financing for this, kind of a 30-unit building in a very prime part of Texas. And he's like, man, this thing just fell apart. And I'm questioning whether I should even still do the deal because the financing is so different. So I think we're going to see a lot of that as well, where, lenders are pulling back. They're also not lending the same terms. So, the financing of real estate affects the closings, right? Affects how many people are doing deals and at what terms. And if, we're, for example, our portfolio, like we're going to sell a couple of properties we plan on keeping because the terms just don't make sense on the refi. So, what does that mean for other people as well? So just, keep in context that the financing is going to change. I remember back in the recession, I was part of the recession. It was really hard to get money. It was really hard to get funding, but there was deals everywhere. I'm not saying that's going to happen now, but, having liquidity, having financial partners, and all that good stuff will be, having access to cash could very well play a big part in your success during this recession, as long as short as they may be, because they do have different lanes.
I have a few points that you brought up, a lot of good points, and I'm gonna try to remember all my points at this point, like, to be honest. So I think a big thing as well, it's, you mentioned like how your plans changed and you have the resources and knowledge and like, the game, and like, think of it, if someone doesn't know everything that this group does, like you mentioned a few creative things, but people who have, for example, in the multifamily space, if you have your balloon coming up, or if you had something, your hard money, or you have a loan coming up, now you're scrambling because like the rates aren't what you thought they would be. The optimistic view, everyone's like, oh, it's just gonna keep going the way that's gonna be beneficial to me. Perspective is everything. Sellers thought the prices were gonna keep going up. Buyers were like, it's eventually gonna crash. Only one can be right. So we're seeing which one's gonna be right. And then another point to that is understanding the creative aspects will allow you to be flexible with ARV. And one thing I'm noticing, and my buddy was telling me this as well, he's like, I'm seeing fixers stay on the market longer. It's like, yeah, because people thought they could get more for it, and now they have a high expectation, and people don't know how to comp it. If I have a project that's going to take me 6 months to 8 months to 10 months, I don't know what to comp it at, or at least I can't be certain. So I'm going to be safe. And if safe isn't what the seller wants, well, all right, then you got to work with me, like you were saying. So it's really how much have you added into your tool belt, and that's what's going to show.
What else do you see on the agent side, Edward? Like anything else, like concessions, anything else like, closing costs, things like that might not have maybe been happening a little bit ago?
So,
like we had one where somebody, has asked, for us to do like a survey that we're like, man, you would have never gotten away with this, a couple of months ago. We would have just been like, oh, we got 15 offers. Like, no way we're doing the survey, but we're still not doing the survey, by the way.
Yeah, and then also, and I'm sure Rick has some experiences with this as well, but it's like when you have all these offers coming in because of the market itself, and that's why I think pricing appropriately in any market is so important, is you can leverage those offers. But if you get one offer after 30 days, you're stuck. And I'm seeing more so now where prices are being reduced, days on markets are getting a little longer. I saw a house that I told the agent, I'm like, listen, it's not going to sell at this price. My buyers are interested, but not at this price. And he's like, no, you're crazy. He started arguing with me. Then I saw him do a price reduction. Now it's up for rent. And I'm like, if you're not willing to have that hard conversation with your seller and accept what the market's saying, either the seller's going to lose or the agent's going to lose, or both.
So I think one thing that stuck out to me back in the recession, and what's so important now, is motivation. So just, I think, pay close attention to that. Whatever you're on the buy side or the sell side, if I'm buying a property from someone, like I'm probably not going to mess around, like as an investor from the buy side, I'm not going to really mess around with people that are not that motivated. Maybe before, deals were hard to get. So I'm following up a lot more. I'm on top of even that kind of lukewarm or not even, that motivated lead. Whereas now it's like the real motivation. I'm looking for someone that's truly motivated, because only that person is going to potentially consider an offer that may be much lower than what they expect because of the condition of the market, right? And on the sales side, I'm more of a motivated seller, so I'm willing to concede a little bit more. Inflation has helped us out a lot, so I'm not concerned about that. But like now, we're accepting offers sooner and probably a little bit less than we expected, just because I don't want to get those data points personally. I want to see, okay, where are we really selling things at? And then not overreact, but also not underreact. Because I think one of the things that also sticks out is I remember in the recession, like just not taking enough action about things that I did have under my control. Like the whole world was kind of changing and falling apart in some ways. Again, this is a different environment, different economy, different time, but it's still a recession or something where a pullback happens. I'm seeing pretty dramatic. I'm seeing some similarities. And I remember thinking, okay, well, if you're gonna take action, you be decisive about it. Like right now with houses we are buying, we have a couple in escrow that we are buying, but they're deep discounts. They're in our buy box. They're, cookie cutter stuff, in and out. We'll be back onto the market in, 60 days. Hopefully the whole world doesn't fall apart in 2 months. That's the type of projects we're taking on, at least in this little kind of crazy little transition or couple of months where there is a lot of unknown and it's shifting to more of a buyer's market, but the data doesn't show all that 100% yet. But what is the data going to look like in 2 months? What is the data going to look like in 90 days? We don't know that yet. But we
I agree. There's not enough information out. It's still too soon. Sorry, go ahead, Edward.
My bad, Rick. You brought up a good point that I think, especially if you're newer in the game, if you want to first get into flips now, you can't bank on the appreciation that people were a few months ago or a year ago. Like anything you bought, if you bought a lot of dirt, and 5 months later you're selling it for double, you really have to know what you're doing, know your numbers. But also I want to ask you, for everyone who does want to do flips and like is new to the game, you said cookie cutter, so you have your processes, systems in place. What if someone who's new and doesn't have those systems, doesn't have those processes, maybe has done one but hasn't seen it all? How do you prepare for what's coming up?
If someone's new, then I think it's the time to, even more so now, to work with somebody that does know what they're doing or has had some experience with it. I'm not saying myself or anything, but it's already daunting and difficult in an environment where it's in your favor. Imagine where things are even more uncertain. Well, principles so irrelevant, which is work with somebody that can help you in these times that you don't, it's hard to go out there and create your systems and do all that while there's so much other uncertainty happening. So I just, going out alone is never kind of a good idea, especially right now.
So I want to hear from anybody not from LA. Like, I know this is, we're kind of, we picked on some LA folks here. Anybody not in the LA market that's seeing anything, kind of different from what we're, seeing down here that wants to share?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
What are you seeing out there, JB?
Yeah, I'm an agent and a flipper here in San Antonio, and I've represented a few buyers these past couple months, and I've seen like a mix, honestly, of that things we were used to, where 10 offers on a property, 20 offers, thing goes 20K over list and then sells, and those are still happening. And like the really clean remodels and things that in the highly desired area, which here is like north central, northwest, and then also seeing a few that are back on market. And the clients that I've worked with, we've gone after those that like were back on market or on the days that were like pushing 3 weeks on market, and we were able to get concessions and help the, I guess, like buyer more so than the seller on those side.
Good stuff. Like you said, kind of circling back. So, I feel like it's more of a, for us, more of just a lack of demand, right? Like the demand has gone down, the supply is still there. You can find houses, just they're still on the market, just the demand to necessarily get into them hasn't been there.
Yeah, I definitely, one thing I want to add is, if I was, I'm not full-time in acquisitions. I know we're revamping our acquisitions department. I know Ilium is on the call, but I would be super excited if I was full-time in acquisitions right now, because I think you have a lot of leverage, and and a lot of people are kind of just sitting on the sidelines right now. So I think it's a great time to take a lot of action, because it's going to take more offers to get deals now. So that means you have to kind of take more action, right? But then you can probably get better deals right now as well, because so many other people are not buying. So I would be very excited if I was in acquisitions right now.
I agree, man. I think the deals are out there. They're going to be a little bit more discounted, but they're definitely out there. Guys, I apologize. I realized earlier when I was chatting just to the hosts and panelists. So I just wanted to share the link. It's in there twice. It's a little bit.ly link, so you don't have to type the whole thing. It's just a little short link, but that's the link for the event we're hosting that Alex mentioned earlier. It's July 28th. It's in DTLA, downtown Los Angeles. Make sure you guys RSVP if you guys are free and able to come out and join us. We hope to see you guys all out there at the event. Should be a really fun one. So cool, man. JP, I think, like you said, I think you're definitely getting to the point now where the market is shifting. Anybody else have any other feedback? Or JP, were you going to say anything else on the market out there in San Antonio?
No, I was gonna ask, what is your favorite list to call for acquisitions right now?
Great question, man. I mean, I think for us, we're still calling a lot of the equity lists, because even as the market comes down a little bit, if you had more equity then, you still have more equity now, right? So as the market does come down, that equity number is still going to be, higher than it would have been a couple of years ago, and you still have some room to leave some meat on the bone, right?
Cool, thanks.
Although I will say that I'm getting really excited. I know it sounds kind of capitalistic, I guess, but there's gonna be a lot of foreclosures, and I have a lot of experience in foreclosures because of having been kind of right on the forefront when that happened with the Great Recession. There were so many properties that went into foreclosure, and so many people don't know the process of foreclosure. So how can you help a homeowner navigate through that if you don't know it? Because that's what happens. People get stuck in a situation where they're not making money, they get a divorce. We used to call it the 3Ds, like death, divorce, disease. And I mean, I know right now the numbers are not out yet, but I could bet some money that the next quarter or two, you're going to see, more foreclosures. And I mean, that's a built-in motivation. They got to do something. There has to be a solution there. And if they have a lot of equity, then selling the property tends to be a pretty good option if they haven't solved the core problem of why they went into default and in foreclosure in the first place. So I'm also excited with that because I know that a lot of people that get into that situation don't know how to navigate through it effectively and can lose their property, lose equity, not know what they could truly do with in that situation. And lenders, what's interesting about foreclosure, guys, lenders, yes, they want to help homeowners, but at the same time, they're a business. So it's almost like, hey, the lender says, hey, give me this information. People go and give them the information. And then they use that against the people in a sense to like, oh, you don't qualify for a loan modification. You needed to sell your property. So the point I'm making with all that is just that once there's a lot more foreclosures, that list is going to be very valuable, or you should even start working on it now simply because, understanding the process in your state helps you figure out. Because I remember I figured out that the people that I could help the most were the people that were really kind of at the end of the road, but the people that were kind of like, they had equity, but they hadn't listed and they were really advanced in foreclosure process. And then they had a property that looked like it needed some work by doing some Google research. So it was like, I would filter down this like list of like 5,000 people down to a list of like 500 by doing all these filters. And then by the time I got down to that 500, it was like, I was door knocking that list. I was cold calling that list. I was texting that list, because it was so filtered down to what I found to be like the highest, possible motivation for someone for that list. So I think that's also really valuable when you're talking about pulling lists, is like being able to filter them down. I'm kind of actually getting excited about this because Will and I have been talking about what lists we want to pull going forward. So thank you for asking that question, JP.
And I want to add one more thing real quick to that. It's like, when you're building, like contacting them, it's not just like, hey, I know you're in trouble, sell me your property. Because knowing and understanding, like truly wanting to help them out to get out of that situation can really benefit you, because if you get creative, if you can find ways to structure the deal where it's beneficial to both parties, you could get in at a better situation as well, plus saving them a lot of the headache that they thought they were going to go to. And it's like, go through. And unfortunately, when you're going through foreclosure, and Alex, you could touch up on this with the more experience, it's like they sometimes feel like they don't have anyone helping them. So if you become the expert and like, hey, I know what I'm talking about and I'm here to help you, and like, here's how we could get out of it, you all of a sudden become someone that they want to work with, and they're going to trust you, and that's just going to take you a lot further to locking up that deal.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Love that.
Yeah, I want to add to the foreclosure conversation because what happened, like he was saying, is that they didn't know what their options were. So they kind of put their head in their sand often, because keep in mind, they're going through something pretty difficult, right? They lost their job, they got divorced, they had somebody in the family got sick, some medical expense. So they're usually going through something pretty traumatic. So how like logical are you and reasonable when something very traumatic happens to you?
And Alex, you
not-
called it the underlying circumstance, right? Like it's foreclosure is the resulting circumstance. You are foreclosing on your house. Ultimately, there was an underlying circumstance before that that is really causing you the pain that probably led to this, right?
Yeah, and even though I'm going there to like buy the property, I'm really going there primarily, like Edward said, to understand what has caused them to fall behind and how my experience, my resources, everything at my disposal can help them in that situation. And that might be buying their property, that might be referring them to an agent because the property is in such great condition. Like it just doesn't make sense for me to buy it because I can't add that much value. It might come across where like, hey, they're so behind, but I can bring them current and they're willing to sell me the property as a subject to deal. So, there's so many different ways you can structure it. I think we're going a little bit granular on this, but I think that's just, we're problem solvers. That's what investors are. So these lists that we're pulling, they have a variety of problems, and the foreclosure list, it's going to grow. And these people, especially because foreclosures haven't been that many up until probably they're just the numbers were so down. I remember before that was like my main list. Now it's like not even a list we hardly even touch, but I'm seeing the numbers creep up on what we've been pulling.
So guys, I know, the market's shifting, right? We know that. Alex, we just got back from a big mastermind, right? And I want to put a couple of our team members on the spot here. We got Mr. Eliam Fuentes and Mikey Nguyen on the call with us. So I would just love to hear from you guys real quick, a quick 30-second, 1-minute take. And then I want to put everybody else on the spot. Like, what's the best piece of advice that you've gotten from somebody about the market, or about what kind of is coming up in the market, or like what's that best piece of advice that you've heard from somebody over the last week or two? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's Mikey. I could go first. One big takeaway from the whole event was, the market's just normalizing. So everyone that's freaking out, everyone just looked at the history, right? Everything that happened in the past years with interest rates and everything. The main takeaway was just, the market's normalizing. So everyone should just buy more conservatively. So don't stop buying, but just buy more conservatively.
Great.
Love that. Eliam, you got anything?
Yeah, I agree with Mikey. One of my biggest takeaways from the mastermind that I kept getting advice on was more about tracking your data, your KPIs, and the data within your company. That way you could be better at making predictions in the future. And as well, you have to match it with consistency as well. So you have to be consistent with your follow-ups, consistent with your calls, consistent with your point of contact, and track your data along the way. That way, when you make a decision 3 to 6 months later, you can make decisions based off your actual business and how you've been performing.
That's a great one, right? Because it's like business is predictable, right? You're getting one contract every 25 leads right now, and that shifts to one contract every 35 leads with a change of the market. Okay, we can predict what we need to do. We just need to either buy more leads or convert at a higher percentage on the leads that we have. Like those are our options, right? So I love that one, right? Those are some killer suggestions. Alex, I know you've got a quick 30-second, 1-minute that you can share from the mastermind as well. And then, like I said, I'd love to open it up to anybody else on the floor that's gotten some killer advice over the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, so I think the main takeaway that I took away, well, I don't want to forget this thought because it was just kind of along what we were just talking about. It's just this like idea of, yeah, track your numbers. And that might not be as relevant for somebody that's maybe just doing like a deal or two, or maybe they're just kind of, getting started, but it is relevant even at the smallest level, because if you track what's working for you, then you can do more of it. So I think that's really the main point of like, don't matter whether you have a business or you're doing 20 deals like us, or you're doing 5 deals, or you're doing 1 deal, like look at your numbers, track your data, know your numbers inside and out, because they help you make decisions. So I don't want to overlook that point, because it's helped us in many different, I'll give you a couple examples of how it's helped us. I realized that the amount of time it took us to rehab the properties in the desert, Joshua Tree, and these other 29 Palms areas in Southern California that are primarily for short-term rentals. I noticed that through the numbers that we were taking a lot longer to rehab these properties. And so I said, hey, you know what, let's just take a little step back. Let's not buy as many out there, because it's not as, it's not happening as fast, and it's slowing down the overall team bandwidth. Well, so that's one aspect. Another one would be, we saw the return on investment in the Antelope Valley, the desert, and we're like, damn, we're not spending as much money. We spend this much here and we get as much of a return, but with less headache. We have less competition. We just really looked at the numbers. We're like, man, we should just buy more properties here. And we've been doing that ever since. And that was so, these little things that allow you to pivot, that allow that you're tracking are super valuable. So no matter where you're at in your process or you're in your journey in real estate investor, always keep track of your numbers. I'm not saying we're perfect at it. I'm just giving you examples of how it's helped us make changes and decisions in our business. So that's one. As far as like
right.
Yeah. Any feedback on that or anything?
No, you nailed it, right? I couldn't agree more, because again, it's important for every level of it, right? Not just people at our level, even beginners know what you do. Alex, we have that conversation all the time. Like, dude, we're doubling down on what works. So if you don't know what works, it's really hard to double down. So I love how you put it.
Yeah, and that also is applicable to like team members. If you do get a team, you're like, okay, their numbers, you got to pay attention to their numbers too. So, but I think for the mastermind, I've been to several, and I mean, it always seems to get better and bigger over there in Vegas for Ryan's. But one big takeaway from me personally was the culture. We've had an amazing culture on our business. What's happened recently is that we've had certain virtual team members get they got outside opportunities for school, and long story short, we're actually shorthanded a little bit on our virtual assistant team. And then Mikey and I were talking about it. It's just like the culture of your company can change quickly with just like 2-3 people going, either getting promoted or leaving the company or whatnot. And I noticed that a little bit of a shift in our team. So we're like, okay, what are we gonna do here? Because these people that were previously maybe like in a certain role, they can't do that role anymore. So just keeping in touch with all your team members, make sure everybody's kind of like in the best seat. But things change, just like with deals. Things change within people. So I got to put a better, more conscious effort now on like the culture, because we've had some transition and now we have to like bring other people on, and we bring on a lot of people. It kind of adds communication channels. So I think just having more focus on that was a big takeaway for me. And then just this continued thing that Ryan's doing about like, the NFT space and this other, just always kind of be on the forefront, and some of that stuff I might not understand fully, but I know that he has smart people around him and other things like that. So we're starting to learn more and more about opportunities there and kind of in that space. Although we haven't kind of moved on anything yet, it's still something we're like, because we provide a lot of value through events and through other things that we're doing. So we're interested in how this kind of technology could affect real estate. And so got a lot more knowledge about that. And I think that's exciting. Just looking forward and seeing what can be done in that space if we learn it and we implement some of the stuff that we're learning from going to these events and things like that.
Big takeaways, man. And again, these guys just came out to the mastermind out in with Ryan Pineda in Vegas. I'd love to open it up, like I said, to anybody else on the call, anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak yet, maybe that's gotten some valuable information from a mentor, a partner, business associate, team leader, something that's kind of guiding them over the last couple of weeks. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, I just want to say something. I think consistency is key, right? I mean, just focusing on one thing, not trying to do too many things at once, because then you'll get distracted. And, if you divide your time into 4 different things, you're not going to give your all to one thing. So I think consistency is key. And also just, if you're going direct to seller marketing, I think just focusing on one, starting with one, and then progressively moving as you kind of get the rhythm of one, and not giving up on one too soon either.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's good advice. You don't want to do too many acquisition strategies at once and then not even get good at one of them. Cool, man.
We talked about that, right? Knowing your numbers, right? So if you can stay consistent and
what
about
this. You, Roderick? I'm picking on people now. Roderick, I mean, you over here on the front end talking to direct sellers, people across the nation.
Who's got some secrets?
Yeah, how's it going with you, buddy?
Everything's going amazing. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm still helping Keith with Crown Properties, talking with sellers. We are seeing an increase in just people that are motivated to sell. So it's coming. Be ready. I think we're going to see a big uptick in foreclosures and just people in situations that need some love. Trying to be empathetic with their situations when you're talking to these sellers, because everybody's got a story. It's kind of crazy. On a personal side, we're rehabbing the triplex. I'm getting to go through my very first eviction, which is not the greatest. My lawyer just sent me the starting point of that. The lady's nice. She just doesn't want to leave. You know, we're cool. We're not arguing or anything. She just, I can't find a place, this and that. I do have a question based on the last thing that you guys just said. If I was going to start a way to get leads in this area on the North Shore of Oahu, where would you guys start? Would it be postcards? Would it be a website? Would it be door knocking? It just seems daunting to get that funnel started. Where would you start?
If it were me, I would start with the Driving for Dollars campaign and cover the entire North Shore, whatever and whether that number is 126 houses or 826 houses, that is a very special list. And you can just start with that. That's what I would do because then those houses are in distress and bad shape and they're in the areas that you want, and that's very targeted. And you could text them, call them. You already, I'm sure, have all the systems for all that. And then you could also mail to them, and it's usually not a big list. So you're able to kind of cover all of it on that type of list. That's how we got the big Maui house through the kind of Driving for Dollars deal machine app. So I would probably do that if I were going to start and really want to be that highly targeted personally. Yeah.
So get Deal Machine, get the addresses in there, call them, email them, postcard them, letter.
All text, postcard them. It's a small list. You'll be able to do the breakdown of the numbers, how much it costs you, and sending them, a mailer to 500 houses every month is not going to break the bank. And then calling them, texting them, it's going to take that long, but it's not a really big list. So you probably wouldn't want to do it on a dialer because it's not going to be a huge list. You probably want to be more of a, not one-on-one, but I know there's ways of doing the dialer where it's just calling one or two people at once and not like 10 dialer, 10 lines at once where it's not that type of list. You want more of a customized, kind of personalized approach to that list. That's what I would do. I don't know whoever wants to add. I know there's plenty of deal makers on the list here or on the call.
I like the deal machine approach. I would say also if you're just looking to get inbound leads or start doing that, start talking to agents, because you can talk to agents like really easily. You can just look up a couple agents in a couple of different offices and have a couple started conversations with those guys and let them know like, hey, I know nobody else is buying, but hey, I am, like, I'm willing to buy, like, get me, anything that a seller is willing to sell. Let me take a look at it first. And that'll get you some first looks at some deals right now as well, right?
Yeah. Hey, Roderick, one thing too, we got seller finance on that deal in Maui. So, one thing about the whole Hawaii thing with the price points and stuff, and they creative finalists, you got that whole huge sub-2 community out there in Oahu. So it's definitely time to start having those conversations with that kind of leads too.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who else can we call on here? Some other deal makers.
How's it going, Alex?
What's up, Yonis? What's going on, buddy?
I just want to say, man, very thank you, man, for the freaking giving out. You motivated me so much that put my house in the market yesterday, and
I motivated you to sell your house.
Yes. I want to get in the game so bad, so I got 36 over asking in one day.
Oh,
and we accepted the offer.
So how much money we getting?
We clearing profit almost $200,000 clearing.
Let's go,
so thank you very much.
Love that.
Have you had the property for at least 2 years?
It's his own house.
Okay, cool. So then you won't have
It's his own house.
capital gains on it, right?
Exactly. Yes. Correct.
They're like, what?
Right.
So thank you very much, Alex. I just want to say that you motivated me lately. So
yeah, brother.
I'm getting ready for this.
Thanks for sharing, man. Let us know how we can help. But you're the one that's making decisions, but I'm glad we can help. All right. Guys, we still got a couple of minutes. Again, it's open conversation. If you guys have questions for us or just want to talk about,
like I said, anybody else? I know if somebody else has another good piece of advice somewhere that we can all take to heart here moving forward, right?
Will, okay, let me contribute a couple minutes here. I'm watching the market very carefully on the financial side of it. I'm also a trader. So watching the interest rate is very, very important because that is driving what the market will do in the next few months. And as you know, the stock market has tanked and the interest rate, which is the interest rates have gone up. Now, it's the bond yield that drives the interest rate. So it went up from in March to 3.36. Okay. And now it has topped. And as soon as the Feds increase that 0.75% rate hike, it started backing off. So it's today, and let me see what my screen is telling me today. It's down to 2.91. So 2.91 we're at, which is very good in the sense that the rates are improving. So it's not something all that you have to panic because they already have peaked. And I think the worst is behind us. And if this market, the interest rates did not keep on going, I think we're going to see the same consistency in the marketplace. And the fear that this recession is there, yeah, maybe we are in a recession because we don't know the numbers that came in on July 1st. They're going to be released on July 28th. And so the government is behind 28 days. But the Atlanta Fed Watch is showing a contraction of 1%. So we could be already in a recession. But that doesn't mean if we're in a recession that the real estate will tank, because real estate is really dependent on the bond yields and the rates. So keep an eye on it. I can share my screen one of these days. I don't know, today is my first time here, but I will learn how to share this screen here to show you. I think the worst in the bond market is behind us. Okay. So there is some positivity here. It's not that the world is going to end and this real estate market is going to collapse. If the rates are consistent and the same, we're going to have a still robust summer. I think at least because this is summer, and then we will see in the fall what starts happening.
Thanks for sharing. I mean, Dan, I know you have a lot of background too as well in the stock market. So like Alex, like I know we tend to look at the interest rates too, right? So it affects both worlds of the transaction, right?
Yeah, and like you said, I think what I really got from it was Dan is paying very close attention to the numbers, and then but remember, you have to pay attention to the numbers and then make an interpretation of the numbers and off of that, right? And so that's why for us, we're pushing for our personal portfolio, or what we're working on is getting these houses to the market that are right at the finish line, and then listing them maybe a little bit lower than we expected, selling them, getting the offers, getting all those data points, and then we know, okay, this is where things are at least for this pocket that we're doing business. Every market is a little bit different, so I don't expect the house prices in Mojave to be the same as Echo Park, as the same as Long Beach. I mean, they're kind of different markets, so you really got to pay attention to each, and that's why we're going one by one to each property, seeing how many actives are. I think we've talked about it. It's worth mentioning. We're talking to a lot more people, a lot more real estate agents about the actives, about the pendings than we were in the past. We would always call the pendings just to double check if there's something going to help us with the ARV. But now it's like it's mandatory. We really have to call all the listings, see what's the activity for that area, if we're either going to buy it or evaluating it for going onto the market. So that way we're most up to date and not 30 days behind, 60 days behind. So I think that's part of the conversation, right? Keep a close eye on all your numbers, and then make decisions off of that, not just
keeping an eye on the interest rates. I mean, interest rates is a key here. If the interest rates come down, we're gonna have normalcy the way they were. But there is a little shock when it went up. The yield went up to 3.34, which is doubled. I mean, doubled in 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So that was a shocker. I mean, if you look at the rate sheets or the mortgage brokers, you call them up, 7-8% they're quoting. I mean, what is this? Now, they cannot fool you, because we'll discuss, if I'll come back here and discuss the rates and things like that. If the rates are low, which today it is showing they are today, so I think we should be hopeful and look forward to a good market, at least hopeful.
Well, good stuff. I know everybody here in the room is looking forward to a good market, right? Like you said, a robust summer would go a long way for a lot of investors out here. Real quick, I just wanted to pose a quick poll question to everybody in the room real quick. Wanted to get a response from you guys if you have or have not been to one of our meetups before in the past. And that's the final question that I just want to kind of pose out to some of the people that have been in here. I'm seeing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeses coming in here. So from somebody that's saying yes, like what was one of the favorite things you had or one of your favorite experiences at one of our meetups?
I met several people over there. I made several contacts. There is a wholesaler, Jennifer Cervantes or whatever name in Riverside. She got me a deal. I mean, I'm looking at it. I haven't got into it, but I mean, this was a very good contact and a couple more guys. And is there meetup is going to be the same place?
So we have a link for it. I'll actually post it here in the chat. So I'll throw it in there in the chat. It should be super fun. We're excited for it. I'll post it right now in the chat for everybody. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing that either. Again, networking is the main reason why we host these things, right, Alex?
Yep. I want to meet all you deal makers in person.
Who else on the call has been to one, has some feedback? Like what was your biggest takeaway from one of the meetups? Let's hear it, Ed.
So I've been to, I think, all of them, honestly. And one thing I think that is very valuable is you get people from all different levels. It's sometimes you go to a meetup and it's like just new people and you're like, oh great, no one knows anything. Not no one knows anything, but like you don't have that basis, or you go to one and everyone's like doing 5 or 10 deals a month, 20 deals a month, and you're like, I don't fit in. And like there's a good balance there. And I think the resources are good too, because you do have people who are money guys, deal guys, wholesale contractors. Like when you're covering so many different bases, honestly, if you came in and day one and didn't know anything or didn't know anyone, you could build a full team. And that's very powerful. You can't find that everywhere. I met some people awesome people who I'm talking to about a multifamily in Ohio about, I sent them 3 buildings today. And if those happened, like I would have never met them if it wasn't for this. And I think more importantly, when you do go to these meetups, go in, like, I don't know anyone and I want to walk out knowing as many people as I can. Like go in, just talk to people. You never know who's going to be interested in what you're interested in. You never know who's going to be able to help you or offer something, or you're going to end up working with on these Zoom calls as well. Same idea. Like I talked to someone, I was like, oh, just walk up to a group and start talking, and yeah, I know not everyone's, if you're shy, you give them something to lose, it's just go out there, meet people. And that's what this business is all about.
Yep.
It's fun. Let's be honest. It's really fun.
Yeah. And we're also having a special guest. We're flying in a special guest. I won't say who it is. That's, it'll be a surprise, but I'm sure we'll announce it too. And so we're always working on making it better and bigger, more people. Because think about it, even if like 200, 300 people go, I mean, I think we got close to 200 last time. It's like, that's only a small amount of people. How many people are actually interested in real estate investing in Southern California or even other parts? I remember I met some guy and then later on he's like, hey bro, the guy he introduced me to, like I wholesaled him a deal in Syracuse, New York. I'm like, first of all, I'm not buying in New York myself, but I happen to know somebody that is buying because I went to a mastermind. I gave him that contact and they made some money. And so that was cool, right? It's like, you just never know how those connections might turn into something for you or what you're working on. So looking forward to that. It's gonna be exciting. We're pushing to get that to 250, 300 people just turn around. So
I want to drop one more poll for you guys, and that's are you guys planning on coming out to the DTLA meetup that we're having this July 28th? And I want to put a couple people on the spot who have never been to one of our meetups that are excited to come out. Anybody in the chat that is coming to their first meetup, here that has not been to one of ours, and if you haven't been to that, like what would be one of the biggest things that you're looking forward to doing at your first meetup?
we're gonna have to fly in Roderick from Oahu, man.
Right? I thought the special guest you weren't going to announce just yet. No.
Yeah, I'll be in Oahu soon, brother. We're gonna hang out.
Guys, anybody on the call never been to a meetup and shy about going to a meetup? I see a couple people saying no, I'm boring. I'd love to see who those no I'm boring are, and kind of see what's your biggest thought about going to a meetup, right? If you've never been to one before.
No. I love it. I love the free tacos. That was one of the best features of it.
Yeah. And then one thing I want to say about the networking thing real quick before and anybody else wants to talk, even at like conferences, even at other places, it's still uncomfortable for me to like talk to people and go up to people. And I might be at a conference or a place or even the meetup, and there's people there for sure that don't even know who I am. And I'm like, okay, cool, I gotta go talk to them. I don't know who they are. So like it doesn't stop just because maybe you know more people. Like you're always networking. Why do you think Ryan Pineda and some of these other people are so big on social media and all that? Because the more reach that you have, the more people you know that know what you're doing and you know what they're doing, the more likely you guys are to work together and potentially help each other. So that's the mindset you need to have in networking. It's difficult, even for people like us that do it quite a lot, and I would think we're pretty good at it. It's still nerve-wracking. It's still kind of weird to like approach people. Hey, what's up? But we're all deal junkies. We're all that's why we're here, right? We're all interested and borderline obsessed with real estate investing. So that's who you want to be around and meet more people like that, right?
And I see a lot of folks down in the chat, just, out of staters that obviously, we miss you guys too. I am going to put somebody on the spot real quick. I'm going to put Frank Perez on the spot just because I haven't heard from you yet. And I see your mic off. Give us a quick elevator pitch, man. Like, where are you from? What's your market? And
nice.
What are you looking forward to the rest of this week?
First of all, I want to thank you guys for making this possible. My name is Frank Perez. I'm from SoCal, especially here in Los Angeles. This is where my market is in. So I'm looking to grow through fix and flips. I'm technically going to begin from scratch. So I'm looking forward to meeting you guys, every single one of you guys, and just take action, because I feel like, that's going to separate you from, getting your first to your second to your third to your fourth to your fifth fix and flip. So if everyone has to take action to be able to scale. Yeah.
Love it, man. I love meeting new people. Are we gonna see you out on the 28th in downtown?
Yeah, for sure. And also on the Thursday, right? This is for Thursday. I'll be there too. So
yeah, for Thursday the 28th. Yes, sir. It's gonna be fun down in downtown LA. We're pumped.
Awesome.
And guys, again, like if you have any questions, we do have our Facebook group as well. I'll just drop that link here in the chat. That's where it's a great place to kind of connect with folks. If you're in a different market, if you're looking to connect with people in this market, I know there's a lot of LA people here, a lot of Hawaii folks that kind of tune in, a lot of Arizona folks from some of the markets that we're personally in, and a lot of people from outside of those markets as well. Marina up in the Bay, we see a lot of you guys and appreciate you guys coming in. But again, please feel free to connect on the Facebook group and connect with these other, rock star deal makers in here throughout the week if you do get a chance, right? Alex, any closing words here before we call this thing a wrap for the deal makers today?
Hey, no, just thanks for showing up, guys. The time is the most valuable thing that we have. So let us know how we can help. Keep on being your best self. We'll keep being the best deal makers we can be and share with you what's working and what's not. So then that way you can learn along. So great seeing you guys. See you on the flip side. Let's go.
Yes, sir. We'll see you on the flip side, Alex. See you on the 28th. Everybody else, we'll see you guys next week. Also here on Wednesday, 3:00 p.m. PST. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. All right.
Very good.
Thank you, guys.